All right, good morning, good evening, good night. Another week, another Layer1Live, another hot news week for crypto, although not as much as it has been, but we're going to cover that for you today, as we always do here on Layer1Live. Good to see the lads in the chat. Good to see you guys hopping in this week on a beautiful Monday, although a colder Monday. But what's going on, Demo? What's up?
Yeah, man. Doing great. It's actually interesting. Each week we're getting more and more news and more hype in crypto, and it's like so hard now to kind of beat each week with the news.
That's
So
fair.
this one, even though we do have lots of news this week, um, it's hard to top the news that we've had like for the last 2 weeks, right? So, still exciting stuff. Obviously we have big things coming up, right? Especially in US. We'll touch a little bit about that for tomorrow, the big day.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I
you
was
know,
trying to get over to the election lines, but they're like 3 hours each, man. So we'll see
really?
we'll see if I can get. Yeah, it's bad here. It's bad
Wow.
here in Virginia. But yeah, guys, like Dimitri said, it's tough to kind of beat PayPal and beat Square and beat all these announcements. We didn't see as big a news week this week, but we have some stuff to cover. I think we're gonna get to some Uniswap stuff. Coinbase launched their debit card. What else do we have on here? We've got the big question: is DeFi dead? I feel like that's DeFi's been getting absolutely railed on. Uniswap, obviously, we got some stuff from EOS. We got a lot of DeFi news. So even though that is the kind of sentiment, there's still a lot of building that's going on, and we have some news from the social and NFT sectors within crypto. So we'll get to some of the comments here, guys. But what are you looking forward to most this week, Demo? What's going on, man?
Yeah, I think a lot of stuff that I talk about the desk in terms of just November starting, we're kind of wrapping up the year for BTC. It's interesting, we've talked about obviously the institutional adoption, right? Which used to be like a meme, but now it's coming to reality, and there's a lot of news that are coming out in regards to that. So lots of things are exciting. I think overall November is going to be exciting, especially with the stuff that's coming up here in terms of elections. Then we have Europe that's struggling with the virus again, and then more stimulus. So I think it's gonna be some fireworks.
Definitely some fireworks. I know we have some UK lads as well, and I know they just got put onto another lockdown, so that'll be interesting to see what's coming with them. Yeah, it's an interesting time in the world, and we're here bringing you the small portion of the cryptocurrency world. So, guys, if you are here for the first time, we are bringing you the news on Layer1Live each week. Layer 1 itself is a tokenized podcast network. A lot of the guys that have joined our community, they earn LADZ, which is our social token, for engaging with the content, for engaging within the community, and then they can put those LADZ to work within the community itself. And we're obviously rolling out a lot of utility here over the next couple weeks so that you guys can take advantage of that. One of the things that we do is you earn 100, at least right now how it's currently set up. You earn 100 for engaging today. You earn double that, so you would earn another 100 if we hit all-time highs. The all-time high for this past week is going to be 56, so we have to hit 57, and then we'll drop that double rewards link for you guys. You already know what it is. So, guys, we got about 16 of you in the chat here, but let's get to some comments. You want to hit some comments, Dima?
Yeah, absolutely. Chris is saying hello from Amsterdam, my man. What's going on there? How's things over there? Crypto Stacy's in the house. Yo,
Hey.
what's up? What's going on? Looks like Brendan, Ari, what's going on, guys? Danny's in the house. We have all the lads in here. So, and looks like let me see. Somebody said can't find it right now, but
Stacy got brought up this morning. Ari dropped something in the chat. I want to pull it up on the screen, man, because Stacy got made into an NFT. I don't know. He's been heavy into the based community, right? They've got their own social token over there. They're doing some really cool things with NFT farming, and I'm gonna try to pull that up. So I'm within the lads Discord, and I'm gonna see if I can do that. Ari, where do you drop that, man? Let me see. It might be in the Citadel. Yeah, it's in the Citadel. So I've got it pulled up right here. Based. It's an animated NFT, so we're gonna get this on the board. So we've got this. I know that's kind of like there we go. Yeah, perfect. So you got Stacy right there. It looks like we got some quotes in the background, and yeah, it looks like the based guys got that done, and they're running a community series with the NFTs. So shout out to Stacy on that, man. That's a pretty cool accomplishment there.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's super cool to see, Stacy. Look at that graphics. I just noticed it. Uh, oh wow, that's sick.
Yeah,
That's
base
good.
base is doing some cool things. Listen, he's been trying to get us into base, into rope. I don't want to hop out of Ethereum for anything right now. So don't take that personally, Stacey. You've been killing it in LADZ, and obviously you've been killing it in base. But what are some other comments to get to while I kind of get stuff together here for today's episode?
Yeah, Crypto Stacy says 56 rookie numbers, so yeah. So we should have no problem beating that. I guess that's the idea here. Somebody said here, oh, there's lots of popcorn here, talk and beer. So I'm kind of jealous here. I kind of want some popcorn myself now.
I thought you only
Uh,
do seeds.
yeah, sunflower seeds. Yeah, that dude, you've experienced it.
I have.
I got him on that, Russian sunflower seeds that he eats with the shell. So I don't know.
Yeah, let's not go too far into that. Looks like Bruno showed up first, so we appreciate Bruno being first. Bullseye. We got Scott in the house. Bob Zebra. That's the first time I've seen Bob Zebra here.
Oh, yeah.
So
Welcome.
nice to see all the new faces and obviously the guys that have been around since the beginning. So I do want to get to some of these quick pieces of news from the LADZ community here. We have the lad of the week as Crypto Brada. He's our friend from Hawaii. He's been dropping some good vibes in the chat, and we just want to give him a shout out for being lad of the week. Extra 250 lads for him. Alpha of the week is going to be Scott. Scott's actually, and I have it pulled up here because I believe Brandon sent me a good one. So basically, Scott, I'm going to read word for word here. Scott, for sharing his reminders to step back from the grind every now and then, to sit down with some good books. He shared his two choices, Dune and 12 Rules for Life. So shout out to Scott for the alpha of the week being just to take a step back sometimes. It's not all about alpha. You still got to enjoy it. And I love myself some Jordan Peterson. So definitely a shout out to Scott there.
Yeah, awesome. Good stuff from the lads, and we obviously have Discord access, guys. So for those guys that don't, didn't join us on Discord, make sure you do that because we're building that out, and of course, we're building out the other sections of the Discord where we do other things like alpha leaks. We do information about trading. I do post my charts there, post fundamental news throughout the week. There's a lot of things that are going on, beyond the surface level of the Discord when you first enter as a new user. So that's something important that, I feel like we need to constantly mention that to let people know that, hey, when you join, you're going to be in the Nomad chat for now. But the next levels that you can earn access to Discord, that's where most of the meat is.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of this portion of this episode, at least in the beginning, is geared toward LADZ. So if you're not in LADZ, or maybe you just maybe aren't feeling it at this point, and you'll eventually get tied in, I promise you. But we obviously are going to have timestamps post episode that you can go in right into the stories. But I think you're right, Dimitri. Like, Discord has been a transition that we've made, and I think there are some growing pains there, but people have definitely given it a go. And those of you that are Discord native, you have made it a good experience. I'm still in the portion of people who are Telegram native more, and I've felt myself getting into Discord more and more. But we need that engagement to kind of get that Discord going as we made the transition. When we were in Telegram, it was just row after row after row of messages. We still have that in Discord, but now it's segmented into its own categories. So definitely getting some of you recruits that have the recruit role of 1,000 lads, you guys getting in there and helping out the nomads and getting them engaged, because it's just a different dynamic there, so that we can continue growing, guys. You guys have been killing it though. So I think, let's see. Let me go over the stats in the schedule for this week. The stats from this past week, it's going to be US, UK, Australia, Canada, and Spain. So that is unchanged. Top 3 episodes is going to be that social token episode with Cooper Turley, Animoca Brands, and Meme. So that was not changed either. So that was the first time, I think, in the history of Layer 1 that we haven't had a changed list. But we got a big week coming. We've got Monday, obviously, Layer1Live. We got Tuesday, Dimitri's Desk. Wednesday is going to be Andrew Steinwald. Andrew is I would say an NFT influencer of sorts. He created a couple companies within the NFT space. Definitely one of the best NFT minds in the space. We got him on Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to have NFT night and game night. We missed game night last week. We just couldn't get it together, but we're going to do an early poker night episode, or not episode, but early poker night series around, I would believe, between 3 to 4. We'll throw a poll in the recruit section to try to get the EU guys on top of that. And then Friday, we've got Dimitri's desk and Axie Infinity, and that's going to be the schedule for the week. So what do you think, man?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Packed schedule as always. So you guys can keep in mind the things that are coming from Layer 1 this week and kind of look forward to that. Somebody said this, can you turn it up a little? Can you check, see if the volumes are good? And if you guys also notice if the volume is too low that's coming through from us, let us know in chat.
Yeah, let me know that because I can switch that on the OBS. But if it's me or if it's Dimitri, just let us know and we'll figure it out. Scott's saying Discord is much better than Telegram. I think you're right, though. We need more people in the Discord. Yeah, I think in 2 months we won't be having this discussion. But in this initial move to Discord, we need you guys kind of helping, especially with the nomads. This is a conversation we've had as a team between me, Ronan, Buff, Brandon, Dimitri. We need to get the nomads going really early because it's different than Telegram. In Telegram, they would come in there, they'd just be immediately hit with everything. They can start talking. Nomads is a bit different. So we appreciate your guys' help. Speaking of help, we've got the first LADZ grant ready to roll post-episode. So what you guys will get at the end of this episode is going to be a post via our Substack about our first grant. And it's going to be a LADZ token grant. So there's going to be LADZ tokens given out. We'll drop that announcement post this episode. But basically all these grants are our monthly ways to incentivize community members, outside community members. It's going to be ways we can use the LADZ token to stimulate growth within the community and outside the community. We've set aside 4% of the total supply to go to buying for the LADZ reserve, which you'll get more information about some of these grants and partnerships. So you'll get that announcement here. We're rewarding one of our most active community members. And if you want to get involved, please let us know, man. That's going to be a really cool part of having this LADZ token is the ability to incentivize that growth.
Yeah, absolutely. And, more things are coming, as more people kind of get interested in acquiring LADZ. And this is an opportunity for them to really, kind of jumpstart their stash by you can come to us and suggest certain things in terms of, what you can do to kind of expand the overall community or whatnot. And then we can review that for a potential grant. So keep that in mind. You can propose, grants that we can deploy, and then we can go from there. So that's just the initial stage. We just launched it, so that's great. We have also a couple other grants lined up already that will be distributed soon as well. So pretty exciting stuff.
And these are all coming from within the community. A lot of some of the guys on the Layer 1 team, they're former LADZ themselves and still are, but you get my meaning there. Yep. So yeah, we're going to go head forward with this LADZ liquidity mining. We launched this announcement on Substack the other day. I can pull this up while Dimitri kind of talks about it. Well, we're going to get some info to you guys and drop a couple links as well so you guys can be up to date on what's going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you guys seen, we've dropped liquidity mining campaign details there. And basically, we've noticed the interest from our community, LADZ, right, that want to participate in liquidity mining, seed liquidity mining, and all that stuff once the token hits the exchange. And, the best way to kind of do this, we figured out, is to collect the group of people that are interested in doing this. So that's why we put out the form. So for those guys that are interested in participating in this liquidity mining, make sure you complete the form. This way we can get in touch with you and, kind of talk to you and gauge on how much you're looking to commit and, what is the process for providing liquidity and so on, and answer any questions. So we want to make sure that this process is easy and we can, answer any questions and concerns that you would have about participating in these type of events. So that's, absolutely important. If you guys are interested, submit that. Obviously in the form there, as you can see on the screen, you can just put in the estimate amount that you would, be interested in committing. It's obviously not, hard coded or whatnot, right? So, but we got already some submissions, and we will be, touching base this week with the participants that did submit the form. So keep an eye on that.
Yeah, obviously liquidity mining has become a big thing over the course of the past probably 4 or 5 months. You've seen it in social tokens. You've obviously seen it in DeFi. They were one of the first kind of to start this contribution types system. We're obviously rolling out a ton of things for liquidity mining providers. That's one of the things we're going to touch on over the coming months. But basically, if you provide liquidity, and I'm going to get Dimitri to touch on why we touched on it in the article, but why liquidity mining is necessary, but just a liquidity pool that is healthy. Why is that necessary? But we're going to be rolling out things like NFT rewards. We're going to be giving different access within our Discord, just rolling out a whole bunch of different utilities for people who take the next step and say, I'm going to support this ecosystem by providing liquidity to that LADZ ETH pool.
Yep, exactly.
So why is, just basically little TLDR, why is having a strong liquidity pool important?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mentioned this in a post and maybe a couple times on Layer 1, but the idea is that if you have low liquidity when you start out trading a token, the problem is that when you have people that are trying to buy, let's say, that token or sell that token, there is the huge slippage. There's a lot of gaps in the orders, right? So then that results in a huge fluctuation in prices, right? And the prices go up and down like crazy. And that's something, as we mentioned in the article, is that we don't really aim, to have that effect. We basically, you guys already understand the value of the token in terms of utility. We're not looking to attract speculators that, speculate over, the price rising. We want to attract the users that want to utilize LADZ for utility. So in order to avoid these crazy fluctuations and volatility of the token, that would, typically result in pump and dumps like we've seen in the past, you have to have sufficient liquidity for that, price to stay relatively stable, and also absorbing, let's say, sellers and buyers.
Got it. So you guys will get a bunch of announcements here over the coming week, I believe, and those that have already filled out the form, which I actually linked right there in the comment section. Once you guys do get that announcement, we'll start to basically bring whoever has filled out the form together, and we'll get you the information. We'll run through a tutorial most likely within Discord. So even if you haven't filled out the app, what we'll do is make that announcement on when we're going to do that tutorial, and we'll kind of run you through how the other social tokens up to this point have provided liquidity and how the process works, and do an AMA and all that good stuff. So, all right, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's
housekeeping. 23 minutes. Let's go.
Boom. A new record. All right, so we got 23 of you guys in the chat. Again, 56 is what we want to hit, so get this shared out, get that second monitor fired up, and we'll get to the news this week. We've got some interesting news in the DeFi space, mostly centered around kind of that drop-off since September into October, and then where we are going forward. But definitely appreciate all you guys sticking up till the end. We'll get to some comments here after breaking. But without further ado, let's hit it, Dima.
Yeah, let's roll. So the first piece of news that I got here is basically DeFi trading app Dharma now connects directly to US bank accounts. So for those guys that are not aware of Dharma, they've obviously a huge player in crypto. You can basically store your crypto there, or you can trade over 2,000 DeFi tokens there. It's pretty good. And these guys came out back in the day. I believe it was like through ETH lending. But the main point about this release that they have is basically the ability for US citizen to on-ramp to crypto. And the beauty about this is that they can send ACH. Everybody's familiar with the ACH, basically deposits. They can do that now. I believe it's 12 states that have been approved. So people can now make deposits with the US bank, in the US using ACH into Dharma that can, give the users the ability to acquire these tokens through their app. Which is pretty significant, right? We've always talked about the on-ramps and the issues with on-ramps and the regulations and so on. So it looks like Dharma was approved, and they get the blessings from US, at least to a certain amount of states. Looks like New York is not on that list, of course. But Pennsylvania is. So that's very cool. And you can obviously, trade, exchange tokens, watch tokens there. It's pretty interesting, good stuff. as far as the Dharma onboarding goes.
Yeah, it looks like. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to also mention the interesting stuff that actually kind of caught my attention here is the fact that they cover gas fees when you trading, right? When you exchanging and so on. But you have to, if you look into it, they actually cover gas fees up to $500 worth of trading. So if your order that you're trying to trade is more than $500, then you'll have to cover the fee. But if it's less than $500, then they'll cover the fee. I can already see people starting to scale into their positions in increments of less than 500 to avoid the fee if the fees are high, right? Also, you do have to pay fee for withdrawing as well. The cool thing about Dharma is the fact that there's no custodial, so it's actually like your device that holds it once you install the app. So you pretty much set up that way. And yeah, I mean, they've been doing great stuff so far.
Yeah, the Dharma plays into one of the stories we have with Uniswap, because they kind of put together that latest proposal for governance on Uniswap as far as distributing more rewards that actually got turned down, but we'll touch on that here in a second. They also talked about Plaid and using their API, as well as having a partnership with a well-known bank active in the crypto space. So Dharma seems to be moving pretty quickly here. It says, and this is directly from one of the C-level executives at Dharma, said, "Our goal is building the Robinhood of crypto and bridging the final gap between blossoming markets and the millions of individuals who will want to tap into them as they gain popularity and mind share." So definitely an interesting case there. You said there was a withdrawal fee?
Gas.
Withdrawal on the gas fee. Okay, got it. So I wonder how big of a dent that puts into their revenue as far as paying for people's gas, especially during high. We saw that with Dapper, right? Dapper wanted to they were doing the mass adoption approach too, especially along the NFT front. They had this, hey, we're going to pay for gas, that they eventually had to roll back on. Like they basically shut down that service whatsoever. So I wonder how that goes and hits their revenue.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess if they're able to offer it, then that's fine. But I'm sure that as the gas fees, let's say, change, if they do get network congestion, right, and the fees really skyrocket, then they're probably going to reevaluate that, right?
Yeah, we've seen it already in the past, so it's good to see. All right, we got 30 of you today. So 30 people in the chat, obviously with all the stories that we're talking about today, guys, which I'll add to this description here in a second. I'll start to do that every episode. I really need to hold myself accountable for that, but we'll have the links in the description here within the next 30 seconds, and you can actually refresh your browser and get all the links we're talking about here. We'll move on to the next breaking point here, but it looks like we have a couple, again, new people in the chat here. Eric Camus, it says Overlook representing, and Wasim Yahya is talking about Keep3r. We'll definitely get to Keep3r and the project that Andre rolled out over the past week here at the end of the episode near that DeFi section. So great to see you guys, and we'll touch on some comments after we get done with this breaking.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's keep on rolling. So next piece of news here, and that's something that not only related to Paxful rolling out to crypto debit card, but it's also related to others that we'll cover here, in quick news a little bit later. But for Paxful, this just broke today. Paxful to roll out crypto debit card for U.S. customers. And it seems like we've had this talk about all these companies making plans to roll out debit cards. We have PayPal, it's getting in now, right? All these payment processors are hopping on, so it's inevitable to have a debit card that will be available in the U.S. Now, Europe has been lucky because they've been having access to a debit card for a longer time, and now U.S. is trying to catch up. So this Paxful is going to be great because it's going to give you the ability to spend your crypto basically like 45 million merchants and ATMs. The way this thing will work is basically your credit the crypto balance that you have, right? And then the merchant gets paid in dollars. So they have that in the back end, or the merchants don't even touch the crypto, right? You get charged crypto in your wallet, but the merchant gets the US dollars. And that's really the main thing behind rolling out this debit card. And obviously this is going to give more ability for users to use their tokens to, pay for like, some simple stuff, right, that they would want to spend their crypto on. So those railways are definitely in place, and I look forward to having this Visa card rolled out.
Yeah, we've got another Coinbase piece of news where they're rolling out their own card. But when both of these stories dropped, it was a discussion we were having where when are the kind of like actual like marketplaces or the actual like end sale or end point of sale there going to start taking the mom and pop stores that are going to start accepting crypto and not this kind of, oh, we're accepting fiat and we're doing the actual third parties doing the transaction. When do you think I can roll in and just make an ETH purchase to one of my mom and pop stores?
Yeah, that's going to be tough, especially because like the volatility of cryptocurrency, right, is really undermining a lot of these thin margins that the moms and pop shops are running on, right? So you got to understand, especially in current environment where we have the Rona, where a lot of restaurants and all these businesses are struggling. They were already operating on thin margins. And if they're going to start accepting crypto, then they're going to be exposed to the fluctuation and volatility of the price. But it's like, well, if I'm going to take in this crypto, then it's like, the product that I sold has like 5% of margin. And then by the time I get crypto in my wallet, it's down like 10%. Then I'm like losing on giving you this item. It's like, what the hell? So it's like, yeah, it's probably a long time, away.
Interesting. Kane actually had a tweet this past week. I know you always talk about that time in the ICO times.
Take the shot.
Yeah, take the shot. We talked about Kane, and we also have a Synthetics here in the chat as well from Stacy. But Kane was actually talking about that time where the ICOs were raising funds in ETH, and I think based on his tweet, and you can go back and check this. I think based on his tweet, he was one of the project that didn't sell the ETH, didn't hedge.
Oh wow.
I would check that tweet out and let me know what you think about that. Maybe I can pull it up on the screen. But you always talk about it. But even one of the smartest guys in the space, he wasn't. And we got to do our fact checking there before I say something dumb. But anyways, let me get to some of these comments here before we hop into the quick news. And we're gonna try to do it quick this week for sure. Danny's saying Lad's dog wants attention. Oh, yeah, a little bit. We'll see. We've got Sahil saying loud and clear, so I think he was talking about our Discord. Stacy is breaking down some SNX news here. Scott is saying new debit cards are always welcome. What else do we got? When it's our generation, that's opening and running businesses. Yeah, that's true. There you go. That might be the answer. Asmodi saying regional time of day to you all. Coinage card been available in the UK for almost 6 months. And that should be all. We'll get to some of these other comments here in a second, but we got 30 of you guys in the chat right now. Definitely want to get to some of the rest of the quick news. All right. Usually the quick news is lasting a little bit long. So this is what we're doing. We're just going to fly through it. I'm going to pull up the first piece of news here, and then we're going to, no comments. We're just going to hit it like a news anchor would. So we've got Coinbase rolling out their Visa debit card here. They obviously are I wouldn't say getting pressured. When you're kind of holding on to the monopoly that Coinbase is, this is just another kind of feature for their users. So you'll basically be able to spend cryptocurrency in the realm of 30 cryptocurrencies, I believe. It says Coinbase card supports more than 30. And to Dima's point that he just made about the other debit card, it looks like there's going to be a conversion from US dollars before completing purchases and ATM withdrawals. So, I mean, it looks sleek. I would love to, throw out one of those Coinbase debit cards when I'm paying for my meal. They know you're in crypto. There's also a 4% back in Stellar. So Stellar's doing some biz dev there, and looks like there's a 1% back in Bitcoin. No issuance fee, but cryptocurrency conversion fees may apply. So you always have to keep that in mind. So yeah, interesting stuff from there. I wonder what it means by cryptocurrency fees. It can't be settling at the moment that you're paying.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. But the fact that you're earning points in terms of cryptocurrency is something that's super fascinating, because usually those cards will have some kind of point systems that are basically worthless.
Yeah, they obviously are offering lending, but Coinbase lending has historically been like really bad. I mean, up to what can you look that up, by the way?
Coinbase lending.
I'm pretty sure they're offering like 1-2% on a lot of the cryptocurrencies that they hold. I don't think they're earning and or borrowing and lending services have been built out, but interesting to see. Everybody wants to issue these debit cards so the funds stay on their platform. So good stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Did you find that, Ernie, or that lending and borrowing?
No, I'm still looking for it.
Oh, okay. All right, so I'll get to the other piece of news here. It looks like DEX volumes tanked in October. I'll get you some of the main points here. Based on this story from CoinDesk, decentralized exchange volume dropped 25%. I believe that was from 25.8 in September to 19.4 in October. Also, I believe FTX futures trading dropped 29%, and it looks like, it looks like that's pretty much the story there. Obviously, we saw kind of that DeFi summer kind of accumulate and continue into a crescendo in September. So obviously 25.8 was the peak. Well, it'll be interesting to see if it stabilizes or continues down in November, but we did see that drop off from 26 mil to 19 in October. So that's pretty much it. I know, that's pretty much the two stories that I had there. What do you got for quick news?
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of a cooling and in DeFi space, obviously, as we see. So the next piece of news that I got here is basically involved in Tether. We've talked about Tether basically printing. It looks like they're not stopping there. They're continuing to print. In the last 2 months, they printed 4.42 billion in USDT. And most of it went to, surprisingly, Bitfinex and Binance. I'm sure everybody's shocked about that one, but so that continues to be the play. Actually, the interesting part here is the fact that the issuance was done on Ethereum, 2.32 billion, and then on Tron, 2.1 billion. So, and if you saw in the news today, there was there's some issues with the Tron blockchain where they stopped producing blocks. The network was kind of like for a brief moment under attack or something. So that's Tether basically continuing to print. Maybe it has to do a little bit of pickup in demand for those people that are looking to get out of cryptocurrency and hop into stable dollars, or just in general demand for Tether is picking up. The next one is OKEx. Of course, nobody forgot that OKEx is still having issues with withdrawals, and they've basically paused deposits and withdrawals. They're still suspended. There's still drama, going on there. The interesting stuff there in terms of specifically where Bitcoin is trading on OKEx and where Bitcoin is trading elsewhere. It's like that is very different because it's very discounted on OKEx because everybody's kind of dumping their bags in hopes that the withdrawals will be allowed and they'll be able to move out of that exchange. Same thing with Tether too. They actually, drop in Tether. Tether is actually trading at a discount there as well. So still no new information from OKEx in terms of withdrawals being lifted soon or even the timeline about it, right? They say just keep at it and watch for updates. But there's also a Bitcoin Cash fork that's coming up, and it looks like they're going to be participating in that. So okay, the BCH hard fork expected November 15th, which is basically going to be a group known. It comes from a group known Bitcoin Cash ABC, led by Murray Sahet. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but basically it's that fork that we've talked about in past where it's like they're looking to tax the miners 8%. Looks like that's scheduled to go through, and OKEx looks like it's going to be participating in that in terms of working BCH. Obviously Roger Ver is not happy about that one, but
Yeah, I was under the impression this was never going to go through. It initially got turned down back when it got proposed. But I guess if there's no funds being laid out for development, you might have to take measures into your own hands.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's an OKEx update there. And the next one I got is DBS Digital Exchange shows crypto has gone mainstream in Asia. So DBS, as you guys may be aware from last week, it's this huge bank. I believe it's Singaporean bank, and they've announced that they're going to be providing the ability for their clients to trade crypto. And you can have retail institutional clients that trade Bitcoin, ETH, BCH, ETC, XRP. And then after that, they took it down. The announcement, right? So everybody on crypto Twitter got excited, and then it took it down. And looks like they're still going to be rolling this out. It's just that they're still waiting on the confirmation from regulatory approval. So that's, regulators are going to take their time in approving this, right? So, and they kind of front run this because they're kind of excited. They know it's going to get approved and done, but the regulators are going to drag their feet a little bit. So they need to wait for the blessings from the regulators. Then they're going to be like, all right, cool. Like, now we're announcing we're doing this and this is happening. So that, that's it's going to be huge. It's a incredibly huge bank, and we continue to see banks more getting into crypto, offering these products. The funny part is that right before we hopped on this Layer1 episode, is that back in the day, it was in 2017, a DBS chief information officer by the name David Glenhill, he basically back in 2017, he basically publicly called Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme, and here we are now. Now they're going to be rolling out this Ponzi scheme to their customers. Sounds like it's taking a page out of Jamie Dimon's book there. But that's pretty much DBS. And the last one I've just added last second, there's something that kind of should have fell more into the breaking news, because there's some FUD about Huobi, and no way, more FUD for exchanges, right? That's something we definitely don't want to see. But there's rumors basically about senior executive was arrested. And it's like, the market can't really deal with that anymore with, with more people getting arrested, especially from exchanges side, because that, raises the counterparty risk for the people that are dealing with these exchanges. And looks like the FUD, the rumor, was discounted by Huobi, saying, hey, we've become aware of the rumor. This is not true. And, the information is very important. The clarity of information in our industry should be very important. And, something like this can really trigger unnecessary unwinding and whatnot, right? So if it's not true and there's just some FUD being spread, that can actually escalate into a bigger thing where people start maybe pulling funds or whatnot, where it's really not true, right? So interesting stuff. In terms of Huobi, maybe it was a competitor, that push out this FUD. Nobody knows, but so far, Huobi said everything is A-okay.
Yeah, I'm looking up the Huobi token right now to see if it took a dip on this piece of news. Obviously, the whole industry is kind of down, but it did see. When did this story break? Was this?
It was 2 hours ago.
2 hours ago. Okay, so we did see like a quick little dip with the Huobi token down to about 360. It was trading at 415 up until a little while ago. So maybe that's a reaction to this news. Maybe it's not. It's funny to see Asia FUD though, man, because it reminds me like Korea FUD is about the same in that they'll come out and say so and so got jailed, or I remember when they were raiding, was it Tron's office?
Yeah. It was Binance, right?
It was like the Binance office isn't there. They raided it. So I love it. Love Asia FUD, man. It comes and goes like the wind a little bit. So definitely interesting stuff. That was quick news, guys. That was the quick news that ever existed. We're gonna move on to discussion. I'm gonna get to some of these comments here first. It looks like Block Crafters. RIP to myself. The Crypto Pickle is no longer my channel name. So pour one out for the Crypto Pickle. It looks like he changed his name to Block Crafters. Definitely a nice switch there. I'll give you that. Scott's saying, not your keys, not your crypto. Thomas Erickson is in the house. He says, hello, boyos. Good to hang out with the lads. Stacy says, not anyone's keys, no surprises. And then it looks like we have Uzumaka Okafor. Sup, guys? Glad to be here. So glad to have you guys in the chat. Looks like we're at 29, and I believe we just touched 30 total. So, guys, 56, I believe, is the all-time high. If we get there, we'll get the double rewards for you guys. I'll drop the first link here in a little while. So this is the discussion piece. This is by far the best This is by far the best part of the episode where we can kind of discuss with you guys. Also, if you want to drop some questions other than the topics we are about to talk about, let us know, man. The discussion portion of the episode should be the fattest. It should be the best. We definitely want your guys' involvement in this too. So without further ado, I'll move this column here over. And the first question here, is DeFi dead? We have that on the thumbnail. It's an interesting question. We saw DeFi summer again kind of fizzle out. We saw the DEX volume down by 25%. All the tokens are wrecked. I still remember when Uniswap was going to go to $20. What is the answer? Is DeFi dead?
The short answer is no. And if you take a look at like DeFi pools, for example, total value locked in USD, yeah, we did take a dip on 1st of November, but look at today. We went from basically having total value locked 11 billion on October 31st, and then went to like 8.4 billion on November 1st, and then today we came back to 11 billion again. So there's a little bit of reshuffling happening in general for DeFi, and guys, like everybody kind of knew this, is the fact that DeFi space is not going to just go up and up, right? There's going to be natural corrections that are going to happen in the market where some of these tokens are going to lose a lot of value and the overall capital rotation will happen, right? So that's overall what has happened with this DeFi phase. And out of this, and that's something that a lot of leaders in the industry, like Kane, take another shot, is talking about how the overall respected companies like Synthetics and Aave, they came out of this DeFi phase much stronger and better. And we can debate on others that have been participating in this phase that didn't end up stronger or better, right? That the ones that actually ended up continuing to sell off more and more. During these cycles, it gives an opportunity for people to build out more things for their platform and continue to generate value for their community and so on. So I think it's a natural cycle where it's normal to see the cooling, right? Some people will say, hey, this cooling is way too much, but is it really for a new sector that was really hot and now is going through, we saw tokens go up more than 2,000%, right? And it's like, well, if we do get a cooling of like 65% drop, then considering the volatility there, like that's normal for a sector like that through to go through like somewhat of a correction. And then also at the same time, first of all, you have players that made a lot of money, right, on DeFi that are cashing out. Second of all, you have people that are seeing kind of potential for risk-off environment that's coming in November. Everybody's kind of talking about this lingering cloud of risk-off potential, right? And then, if you think about it, DeFi, the way it is in terms of liquidity mining incentives that have already came down a lot, the interest rates came down a lot in lending and borrowing. They've started stabilizing, right? Those interest rates were teaser rates because there was not enough people participating, but now that there is enough people participating, those interest rates are start normalizing and coming down. So with that in hand, as well as potential for a risk-off environment, I think a lot of people are just reshuffling their portfolios and taking some off the table. It's and which is completely normal. I understand that, because if you're locked in DeFi and you're earning these rates, let's say, well, if things hit the fan, then it's going to be too late for you to unwind, because we know that in DeFi you usually have to lock things in, and in order to get out of that, you have to pay a ridiculous amount of fees, and by the time you get out, there's going to be mad slippage, and it's really not the way to do it. So I think it's just players taking off some cake off the table, rebalancing their portfolio, and that's about it.
Maybe it's a little bit of vanity, but we always bring up ICO because we were at ICO alert. Obviously, the ICO craze in 2017 was a little bit similar to what we saw in 2020 with DeFi. It's interesting that it took like 3 years, and I go back to this quote by Mike where he was like quoting someone's tweet that was talking about ICOs and how there actually is products that grew out of ICOs. It just took us years to kind of get rid of this stigma that was ICOs and the process. It was the over speculation, and you saw it at the end of that era as well, where it started, while you did have some products like right at the start that maybe were kind of bullshit, as you got near to the end, you saw a bunch of just money grabs. But within that, you did see good products, and that's what you'll see from DeFi as well. At the beginning, it was likely that most of the products were going to be good. The timeline increases, over speculation, shittier projects, and within that, you'll still get good projects. So I think there's a little bit of a similarity to take from these guys. It might not take as long for us to get over it as we did with ICOs. I think ICOs literally, I remember at the end of those days, it was like almost a voodoo word to like you didn't want to even mention ICOs like in 2018, a little bit of 2019. But right now, I think you still have I think we have kind of come out of that, and you will see that with DeFi as well. It was just an over speculation, man. Like that, the fervor that happened in like early September was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I completely agree with that. And the interesting part is when I was listening to Suzu, is amazing every time he talks about derivatives and DeFi and so on. From his end, obviously, they work with the 3R. He runs the 3R Capital there, from his perspective, a top signal for DeFi was when we saw a lot of these, platforms just replicating, right, of what has been done, not creating anything new, completely replicating exactly the same thing that has been done and doing that over and over and over again. Now that effect itself creates a misappropriation of capital into different sectors. So like if you have capital that starts pouring into these clones that create no value in the market, no new value in the market, then that's not a proper way to allocate your capital. Therefore, there's going to be correction in those sectors. And that's what ended up happening, right? So a lot of that stuff ended up unwinding. All those clones, they were short-lived, as we've seen. But I'm really happy about the fact that with all the experiments that happen in DeFi, and they continue to happen, is that DeFi didn't blow up. And you were waiting. I was very scared because, if you look at the overall credit markets, it's it can be a very good thing to build out credit markets, but it can also be a very bad thing because you're adding leverage to the overall industry. And then we know adding leverage to a volatile assets can be very destructive. So for me, I'm happy the fact that DeFi space did not actually blow up because of volatility, and this could have ended up to be pretty bad if we had a significant unwinding defaults, right? And where the margin that people have would not be enough to cover the fluctuation in price, and they would get negative balances, like we've seen something back on in March. So I'm happy, like, as long as DeFi is not blowing up and it's testing pretty nicely, even with volatility that we have, it's performing relatively well. The fact that there's corrections, slow bleeds that happen, that's fine. That's part of the cycle. As long as there's no systematic issue, that's fine. The overall sector is going to continue to move forward.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to go back with 2020 vision here, but it would have been interesting to see along that same timeline if DeFi was in that summer craze and then we had that March event happen in the midst of that. What would have occurred? There's definitely a lot of speculation here. I'm going to get into some of these comments. I want to call him Pickle, but he's Blockcrafter saying DeFi products are still being used. Stacy saying the undead may never die. Looks like Scott is saying I'd say no as well. I'm mostly using DeFi to trade. I use Coinbase just to purchase initially. Ari is saying DeFi is a step on the road in the crypto evolution. Crypto Brandon saying my DeFi bags are feeling heavy. And then your mom is saying how much lower can Uni go? Want to buy before it goes up. We're going to touch on Uni here in a second because that obviously is a big factor in the DeFi craze as a whole. Looks like Stacy saying adding leverage to a volatile speculative play. Yes, sir. I hope you're a believer and not FUD up. Looks like pickle's still the pickle, so we'll go with that. Yeah, it's a super interesting discussion. I think most of us that have been around since 2017 or before, and maybe even those now, but I would say those who've seen it before know that this is kind of just, again, like Ari is saying, this is just a step, right? It was necessary that a correction needed to occur after all of that craziness. I honestly, to me, the curve launch was kind of like the almost symptom of something happening that was going poorly, and then the launch of Few, I think, was like the explosion. Like when Few came out and those announced, like right after Meme, and then Few happened, that was like, okay, wrap it up. This is it. A bunch of influencers trying to make a token and getting called out for it, and all the guys who had been shilling DeFi up to this point, saying it's this new financial world order, and then they got caught making a social token with no value. That was the one to the heart, So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a bit tough. But in general, so like, for example, you mentioned like March, right? Issue. So if we, and we kind of gonna get into the next point of discussion here in a little bit, but as if we do get a second wave of the virus and this impacts the economy and so on, a global slowdown continues to happen, there will be essentially a correction in the markets as well, and we'll see if that's going to trickle in into crypto at the same time. But the second piece kind of a discussion there that we have is just the elections that are coming up here in the US that are they're happening tomorrow, and I think we should know by the end of the week if things go smoothly in terms of like who's the winner of the elections. But it's interesting because we were kind of talking about like what is the difference between each candidate winning, and how does this have an effect on the market?
That was going to be a topic, but we left that off for you guys for we didn't want this to turn into a Rogan Alex Jones podcast, but go ahead. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So this is really quickly for those that like, wondering, it's just like the market participants seems like they figure out the range in terms of how much stimulus is going to be done. They basically know the range, whichever candidate is going to win, there's still going to be, stimulus that will need to be done, just how fast it's going to be done, how much. And that's the way the market is looking like it's going to respond as we're going to start getting numbers in terms of elections and how it's going to be affecting the overall market. So that's just kind of the idea there in terms of elections. Obviously, Dimitri's desk is going to be tomorrow during the election, so that should be fun. We should probably see a bunch of volatility there. But aside from that, there's also things like Europe right now, like we mentioned, right? It's going on lockdown again. We have European Central Bank is coming in out with more stimulus already, so they're ready to pump again. They're ready to drop that helicopter money. So it seems like things are starting to spell out a lot of that risk off signs, and we know that as much as we want to say that Bitcoin is not part of the or is part of the risk off asset, history shows that it's still a risky asset, right?
It's interesting because as an altcoin trader and an investor, you're almost fighting two battles, right? You have the token itself that you have to fight against all the fundamentals and all these different things, but you're also fighting against primarily Bitcoin and ETH, right? And that's one of the discussions that we're having in the Discord right now is like, should I get out of my alts and get into BTC? It's not even just like, let me get out of these alts. It's holy shit, like even if my token doesn't tank, BTC could rise on the back of all this narrative that's being pushed with all these big firms getting in, right? So we could see BTC go to 20K next week, and I don't think many people will be surprised based on where it's at right now. So you almost have to fight two battles. It's like, holy crap, this might tank, or it might stay stable, but Bitcoin, see you later when it comes to your value in sats. That's a whole nother discussion I feel like we're leaving off the table there. It's like Bitcoin on the back of all this great news could just rocket up and leave everybody else behind.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that, we mentioned on Desk when I had an episode where we covered, tokens against BTC and tokens against USD. right? And against USD, they were like, yeah, looking like somewhat okay, right? But then you put like that token against BTC and just like, Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
like what, So it's like, and then you start asking the questions like, well, are you trading or you're investing? Are you trying to accumulate more BTC or are you trying to accumulate more USD, right? So yeah, it's tough. And I think I agree, in terms of the more like attention we get from the institutional side of things, and more on ramps and products from like these entities, then that's going to create this more demand for BTC, and we might get a run where it's like a rotation of capital that goes out of alts into BTC, which is like the cycle that we usually talk about, right? Where we
Mm-hmm.
have first like BTC, right, pumping, then people getting out of BTC into alts, trading the alts, right, because they're offering a lot of yield and they're going up, and then rotation out of alts back into BTC and perhaps out of BTC into fiat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we are in the point where it's like rotation out of alts into BTC, and then maybe if we do get a broad risk off environment, maybe even out of BTC into fiat.
It's a wild time in crypto. We'll see. I think we do need to get past this election. I think it's just like literally is a cloud hanging over whatever we do here in the future. So, did you have any comments you wanted to hit on before I moved on to
Yeah,
this
I
next
think
story?
TPP asked a good question, and that's something that I've had somebody ask me on a desk as well. It's like, well, why the hell does BTC care about the elections in US, right? It's decentralized, it's all that good stuff. It's like, why does it matter? Well, the reason why it matters is because at the end of the day, BTC is priced in US dollars. US dollar is a global reserve currency. And based on
Wall Street is right there.
Wall Street, yeah. So then based to which candidate wins is going to determine the amount of money that they're going to pump into the economy in terms of stimulus, which will be reflected in how much of weakness we'll see in US dollar or strength, right? If we have weakness or strength of US dollar, that will be reflected on the price of BTC. So that's the reason why the elections are important. I know a lot of people looking from outside and they're like, well, why the hell should we even care about American election? Well, the reason why is because the next candidate who's going to win is basically, going to be pushing the stimulus like, to certain levels, right? One candidate might push it more, another one might push it less, and that's going to be reflected in terms of dollar strength or weakness, which will be reflected in how BTC is priced against the dollar. Sorry, a little bit of a desk there.
TPP is saying BTC is priced in euros for me in Europe. How
Yeah,
would you respond?
yeah, great. So it's you're up to the ECB. So right now the European central banks are looking to pump even more euro, right? So that's going to cause more inflation and weakness for the euro, and therefore, right, you're good, right? Because then your BTC is going to go up in price, euro is going to fall, right? And BTC is going to go up in price. So then in that sense, yes, that I understand from the European perspective. If you're looking to accumulate more euro, then if you have projection for euro weakness, then that makes sense. But for the US dollar holders, which, like I mentioned again, US dollar is a global reserve currency,
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're making this a big deal in terms of elections.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the purchasing power of the public in the U.S. is always something that's looked on as well. You have a lot of people in the country that like historically have had purchasing power. So if they, get that stimulus, I see what you're talking about. But to be fair, Asia has that as well. Europe has that as well. So we don't want to sell short any of those regions. It's just something maybe that gets a lot of press because we are in the U.S. So that might be a situation there. All right, a lot of really good comments here. Let's see. He's saying, so what is more heavier, the ECB pumping or U.S. election?
Well, it depends what you're trading against. So it's like, for example, if your counterparty pair is euro, right? Then you have the European Central Bank that's influencing the euro price, right? So if they devalue the euro more, then yeah, that is more important for you because you're euro holder. So.
It sounds like TPP needs to stop by Dimitri's desk every Tuesday and Friday at 5 p.m. That's what it sounds like.
Exactly.
All right, guys, we're going to move on to the next portion of discussion here. That is around Uniswap. So we touched on Dharma earlier in the episode. Dharma actually put out a proposal that fell short by almost like, I believe, 5% of what they needed to get to that full 100% of the vote. So I think based on this vote. They got to 37.5. They needed 40 million votes. They were going to do a retroactive airdrop for those people who didn't get the Uniswap token because they interacted with a proxy. So a lot of us interact with Uni via MetaMask. Therefore, we got, and it was before a certain point. I believe it was August 1st, but that it seems like 10 years ago at this point. So basically, you guys know how the Uniswap drop worked. Well, people who interacted with a proxy and didn't interact with Uniswap itself actually didn't get the drop. So that was actually going to be this proposal. It was going to kind of signify that, this governance on Uniswap would work. Obviously, Uniswap is one of the biggest, if not the biggest DeFi product in all of crypto, and it fell short by, I believe, 2 million votes. 1.2 million people voted against this drop. There's a healthy debate here, and the actual debate is whether this drop would be good for the actual ecosystem itself. Obviously, governance is a really sticky issue and messy issue, but you just have this situation where, one, the inflation, I guess the inflation is coming into account. November 17th was the date that was supposedly stopping the rewards of Uni for people in all of the Uni pools. That needs to get handled by Uniswap governance as well. So there's this issue of like what's going to happen with Uniswap coming, one, when November 17th happens, when those liquidity rewards are essentially stopped, and what that's going to do to the token. So you have this flood of tokens that has been in that initial liquidity mining pool. Obviously, you guys know when a new product launches, you have that like big swath of rewards that's in that first stage. Well, essentially on the 17th, that's ending. And what that means for the token. Does that mean that there's going to be less tokens flooding the ecosystem, meaning maybe the token becomes more scarce? What is the governance proposal for the next liquidity rewards pool? Those are all questions regarding Uniswap, and the fact that this fell short by such a little amount of tokens is definitely just like an interesting story in and of itself. I know Amin Soleimani I don't believe I have his quote right in front of me, but basically he was saying that, one, the rewards would go to people who are going to sell it immediately. Two, there's other things that they could be funding with different with that pool of rewards, that people want to turn that into a retroactive airdrop. So there's a debate on both sides of what they should do with this pool of rewards tokens that was going to be retroactively airdropped to people who were going to be on proxy. I'll see if I can get that full amount for you. But what do you think, Dima?
Yeah, Pinnacle is saying whales should get nerfed. Yeah, so it's interesting. It's like, obviously there's a whale involved in this, right? It's interesting to see these sub proposals and governance tokens finally kind of making their way to like be the utility and be used, but it's not as we saw like initially when they got released. They're like, okay, governance tokens, cool, everybody's gonna vote and we're gonna start passing a bunch of this stuff, but that's not necessarily it's true. There's a lot of issues with governance tokens that they've been dealing with in terms of participating in voting on proposals in general. Some people they're not voting at all, but the whole thing about Uniswap and in terms of their liquidity, they've obviously established significant liquidity already, and their rewards for providing liquidity have come down, like you mentioned. The bonuses, right, are going to be no longer there for liquidity providers, but I believe still they're moving into the setup that they originally had, which is the market makers. If you're providing liquidity, there is going to be a part of a fee that you take, so it's going to be way lower than than initially was set up, because when you initially trying to incentivize liquidity, that's when rewards are high. When liquidity is high, that's when rewards are low, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the normal, right? That's everything. That's a normal setup. That's what everyone was expecting to get to. And then once we get to it, people are just like, wait a minute, but my rewards, but that's going to be relatively all right. And I mean, looking at even Uni like price, bro, like looking at the Uni price is trading at $2.30. Mm-hmm. look at curve price, like,
Yeah.
it's like completely different. That thing just continues to move lower, lower, and lower. But it seems like Uni, they're still doing well. I have respect for Uni.
Yeah, DJ Spartan weighed in on the debate here. I pulled up that Amin Soleimani quote. So DJ is here, and DJ actually came back and was super bearish. Obviously, if you were following the DeFi craze, DJ was one of the main influencers that was kind of, I wouldn't say moving the market, but he definitely had potential to have some influence. As far as I know, their governance is unable to decide on anything, so the liquidity incentives will stop. Might be considered a bullish event since their token can't be dumped by farmers anymore, but probably total value locked shrinks a ton as well. I expect exodus. So definitely some super bearish quotes from him as far as the uni price is concerned. Another tweet thread from Ryan Breckwin talks about Uniswap in the distribution and worst case and good case scenarios. So definitely ones you want to check out. Those links are in the description if you really want to check this out. But yeah, I mean, I think Uniswap, I think those were super bearish comments from DGen's perspective. I don't think we get a mass exodus. Who knows? Who knows what happens? The governance portion is fair. So when we're talking about this distribution that they wanted to retroactively distribute 400 Uni to 12,000 addresses who had been interacting with Uniswap but through a proxy, yes or no? Just gun to your head.
Yeah. I mean, I think that should be done. It was not fair, right, to them that it happened that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be done. That's something for Uni. It shouldn't be a problem. I mean, listen, when they first distributed Uni to everybody, 400, right? That was initially when they started trading. It was like $1,200, right? And they distributed so many addresses. The token price went up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like it was, it's very strong in terms of where Uni is, and they can absorb this selling pressure. And for those guys that for Spartan that mentioning that, hey, the farmers are not going to be dumping on the market anymore because the incentives are going to go down. Well, you have to also understand the fact that Uni is listed on derivatives exchanges, so those people that are farming this token, they actually ended up locking in their position and the price on the futures market, so they can short Uni and just get short the amount that they're basically getting. This way they're locking in the price. They don't necessarily need to dump it on the spot market relatively now because they're locked in the price. So it's like, I guess you could say maybe the dumping from farmers can it's going to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to also keep in mind that there was other tools that these guys were using that prevented them from dumping this on the spot market.
Yeah, when he says mass exodus, he's specifically talking about the farmers in the Uni pools, correct?
Yeah.
Because from mass exodus from like a user perspective, I feel like Uniswap does have that first mover advantage in saying like, oh, I want to swap a certain token here or there, I'm going to go to Uniswap. And that's just from a user and community perspective, not from a farming perspective. I'm wondering, like, so if there is a mass exodus, what is the negative effect to Uniswap other than the fact that there's not as many Uni pools?
Yeah, I mean, it would be consolidation in liquidity, and that's really not a good thing. You don't want the liquidity to start dropping off on Uniswap because that's when you're going to start having a higher slippage on the tokens, and the execution quality is going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't think is going to happen. Again, I don't think the exodus from these like liquidity providers, the market makers that are participating is going to really be that significant that will impact the exchange overall experience. I think the overall participants knew that this was going to happen, and overall participating by making the market providing liquidity, they're still making money. They're just not making as much as they used to when the whole project started. And everybody knew this was going to come. So this shouldn't be no like shocking news, like boom, it's happening like out of nowhere, right? But I think the overall effect, I think people are kind of overblowing it.
Yeah, definitely. I would probably agree with those statements. So we got Kieran in the chat. Kieran is in the house. He's saying the farmers dumped even harder. I'm not sure. What is that attributed to? I don't know, Kieran.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got Pinochle actually has a comment as well, and I think it's getting along with what we're talking about. Does not distributing to these proposed groups send the message that users should avoid any third-party tools? Doesn't that stifle innovation? I think that's a great comment, and that's actually a direct kind of statement from the Dharma team. Was like, hey, listen, we were building on your protocol. We attached our whatever our APIs were in our hookup to the Uniswap protocol, and now the rewards are getting, or the users are getting actually hurt by that. That actually hurts Dharma, right? Why would they use Dharma if they're going to get screwed like this in the future? So I think that was actually the argument they were making for this kind of proposal. So it's interesting to see that they fell that much short, man.
Yeah, that is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm going to get this rewards link set up, guys. We have 32. I think we hit 36 concurrent in the chat. So if we do hit 57 today, I'll double it up. I'll drop another link. But right now, I'll drop those first 100 to you guys that are engaging in the chat. Alpha of the week and Lad of the week, Crypto Brada and Scott Harris Firestone are going to get an extra 250 for being those two Alpha and Lad of the week. So I'll drop that if you want to hit some comments before we move on to EOS.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what's going on here. As Modi saying, are Uniswap planning to move to layer 2? Does that mean we move back to exchange wallets, smart contracts equivalent? That's interesting. You know, obviously we do know a lot of layer 2 solutions that are being kind of rolled out for the sector. So be interesting to where it's gonna go, but I would imagine that we shouldn't move backwards, right, for those decentralized exchanges in terms of, you know, having wallets that are stored centralized. So looks like Scott is advising you to move the arrow. Yeah,
we're still in discussion.
Yeah, so that's you know, that's pretty much the thought there in terms of Uniswap. You know, we'll get into a little bit later in DeFi, where there was a report that came out in terms of DEXs being unsafe. It was interesting where they, you know, kind of rate different DEXs and where they are, and really there's a lot of them that actually spell a lot of caution there. So
Word. Okay, I'm moving this over real quick. I'm messing with a ton of things here, Dima. So hopefully you got to the comments here and touched on those. Looks like Rustin said, weird, I don't see my last comment, maybe the URL. Yeah, I don't think it allows you to drop URLs if you're not the channel owner. I know that's been a problem that we've been having. So did you touch on everything you want to touch on before we move on to EOS here?
Rustin just mentioned, what's your guys' opinion on CeFi platforms like Celsius and Crypto accepting Uni? And what it means for governance, basically creating big whales. Yeah, I mean, do you have anything for that one?
Yeah, there was an interesting proposal that was put forth, I believe, by Colin Talks Crypto from the EOS ecosystem. EOS has been, and I'll give the positive shout out to EOS, which is tough to get by over the past week, which we'll get here to in a second. But they actually, and Colin and a couple other guys on that ecosystem kind of governance topic, were talking about having a toggle. So being able to, you know, store funds on exchange, because that was the issue, was that exchanges were using votes via that ecosystem, or via just holding it on their platform, even though the user maybe didn't want to vote for that exchange, they were having their votes staked to the exchange. Well, you could actually have a toggle, a yes or no, saying, hey, do I want my funds to be used for voting or for governance proposals or things like that? I think that would be an easy way to let somebody have access or not have access, depending on their choice, to this governance situation. And they'll probably give extra rewards for toggling yes or no. I could see that in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we'll see, you know, how it's going to roll out. But I mean, yeah, there is always that risk, and talk about how some of these whales that, right, they're going to start rolling out like a way for you to earn by depositing Uni, and then they're going to use that Uni to, you know, participate in some proposals. So it's tough, yeah, when something like this happens. It's interesting, though. It kind of goes back to how these centralized like CeFi platforms, one way that they're trying to compete really hard with DeFi is by listing as many DeFi tokens as they can on their platform, right?
Mm.
They're really not like innovating on their end. They're not creating anything new on the CeFi side. But what they're doing is they're adding the DeFi tokens to kind of be like, we're in this DeFi stuff too, to kind of catch up with the DeFi and experimental stuff that's happening there, and so on. So
I know one of the stories that we were touching on was like a conspiracy theory that when Uni was being bought up and it was just like shooting up in price, that it was some CeFi platform that
yeah.
was buying all the tokens to influence governance. That was an interesting time. The only other thing I'll say on this Uniswap situation, God, I completely blanked there. I think that's exactly what Dharma was doing. Dharma
hmm
obviously has this wallet. I think they were influencing the vote by having people who were interacting on their platform and had funds either. Although you said it was non-custody, whoever was kind of having funds through this wallet, I think they actually used those funds to vote. I
Yeah.
don't quote me on this, but I think Dharma was doing essentially what you were saying, which was taking Uni tokens and putting it towards the governance for people that were using their wallet. Don't quote me on it.
Yeah.
I don't want to get hit. Okay, all right. So I've got the EOS. I got the EOS stories here that I'm going to pull up. We have some news from everything EOS. Now, admittedly, I saw this just via talking with Zach and also just seeing it on Twitter. We've got two everything EOS interviews. One was from Block One that they already had. So they had this interview with Bart Wyatt, who is he's a VP of blockchain engineering at Block One, talking about the different advances they're making over at Block One with EOS. I believe it's EOSIO like version 3. But they had this interview already. Here's a link. Actually, I can drop the link here in chat most likely, but you guys can see that as well. Go to this Twitter link, and they're just talking about rolling out different EOSIO version updates as well as EOSIO adoption. So that's a good one. And then also, if I can pull up this next one, they're going to have the CEO from Voice, Salah Valatino. I need to make sure I get that voice right. Zalatimo, sorry. Salav Zalatimo. They're going to have that interview live on the Everything EOS channel on November 4th. So definitely some good stuff coming out from Everything EOS. They're getting the big guys on, the big cats that need to be on, explaining themselves to the community and talking about the updates. That's everything happening from Everything EOS. So that's a good story. Otherwise, we had a little bit of negative news. Dan is still on the defensive here from the community. The community's been super. I think we had a week and a half period, maybe 2 weeks, where we were getting a lot of positive momentum, a lot of positive news. But there was always this undercurrent of Block One not doing enough for the community and for the holders. So this was kind of taken up by this comment here by Flamel actually is like echoed by many other people. I just chose this tweet because Dan responded to it. He says, if Block One would have kept its promises of investing $1 billion into EOS, mainnet would be home to thousands of dApps. Community would be 100x bigger. Might have surpassed Ethereum. That's a comment in and of itself. But Dan goes on to explain. He said, we only promised to invest in companies building on EOSIO. EOS mainnet didn't even exist at the time. And there have been many public EOSIO chains that launch. Proper investment requires identifying teams that can build sustainable businesses. These are in short supply. This EOS VC situation we talked about multiple times. I think Cheney Moore kind of laid it out very clearly here. He said, unfortunately, Dan, it does not appear that the EOS VC fund followed the EOSIO requirement. EOS Writer will be doing a look into projects that received funding in a series that will come out over the next 3 to 4 months. So Block One's essentially on the defensive here again from the community that rightfully so is probably feeling, pretty bad about the situation with just development on the protocol. That being said, EOS is still doing good work. There's some stuff being built out. It just comes with the territory, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just actually checking out to see, the news that we saw from EOS in terms of Google happening as a block producer, Google Cloud. I was just checking out. They're actually on they're running as a block producer, but they're ranked 73, which is interesting, right? So even like somebody who's Google is not like ranked like top 21.
Yeah, it's going to take a little while, I think, for the proxy votes to probably come online. I don't think Block One has also like pitched their kind of votes towards Google, and then Google didn't actually buy any EOS to stake to themselves.
Yeah, which is a question of will they, you know?
I don't think they were planning on doing that. I don't think they were planning on making like that type of investment. So I think what'll happen is like Block One and other proxies will get behind Google. You slowly see that move out.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like Voice. What's going on with Voice? You know, it was such a big deal. Social platform, spend a lot of money on it, right? And you know, we'll still see obviously a Voice, right? Still performing, people still participating there and everything. But it seems like a lot of people were expecting that to be reflected in EOS price, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like everything that happens from like the Block One side, and that's why the community is getting mad. I think it's just because EOS is doing all these things, but it's like not reflected in the EOS price. Where it's like originally the idea was for the holders that hold EOS is to benefit from all these things that Block One and everybody else is doing, because I gave you my ETH during the ICO for you to raise money to build this platform, and kind of give me a little bit of a break there, like so. That's the whole idea. I think a lot of like I think a lot of like traders, investors in EOS are rightfully kind of upset where they've seen a muted reaction, in terms of growth on the investment that they made back in the day in EOS.
Yeah, Block One, admittedly, from an investment firm perspective, has done great with what the money that they got. I think they put a lot of it into BTC at around 6K, 7K. There's a lot of different things that they've done with that money. Maybe the plan all along was to get that money and have this investment firm kind of be spun up. It seems a lot to me that it is nice to see Dan and Brendan and them kind of come down and talk with the community. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's had this negative reaction. It's just this balance, right? Like you want them to come in and talk to the community, but at the same time, it's creating all this negative energy. Not to say that wouldn't have happened anyways. So it just sucks, man. It feels like they're disconnected from their community. Whereas before, when they were building and everything, and while they were in the ICO, they were in the Telegram. They were always there, and it seems like they're in the high castle now. Right, and making all the decisions without understanding the plight of EOS holders. That's my personal opinion. Like,
I think it also has to do with the fact that with the isolation, the fact that we can't all come together in the conference or these events that EOS used to put on, and maybe do our dance and like chant, and all that stuff. To bring the community together. So.
Adriana's coming in at an interesting time in this discussion.
Go EOS.
No. I feel like she's been very good with being objective on what's happening within EOS, as is most of the people that we know in EOS. Cheney's been good. Zach from everything EOS has been good. We've seen the EOS community take a super hard stance with Block One, but rightfully freaking so, man. Make EOS great again. Easy's in the house. He said, still early days for most crypto, in my opinion. That's fair. And I think Pickle is saying if price was higher, nobody would be so negative. I agree with all those points. You guys are coming through with the good content. So definitely an interesting time in the EOS ecosystem. I think it's good to point out, like Easy's saying, it's still early for most crypto. I know it sucks, for some of the holders that have been around for a while, but there's good things being built. One thing I would have liked to see in all of this is a better connection to the forks that EOS has been able to create. Wax is for all its faults, Wax is a great product relative to crypto standards, and I think some tie back into the mainnet would have been nice. You've seen some other forks happen. That would have been great for people to view that ecosystem as a whole. I think they're starting to do that, but definitely it was like almost combative. And Talos is always, I feel like, taking a weird marketing approach of like bashing the mainnet and saying like Talos is better, and just bashing the mainnet. It's like, no, man, we're building out an ecosystem here. So yeah, Adriana's saying good things coming. I couldn't agree more. I think it's it's just putting it together step by step. It does suck for some of the long-term holders, but I think it's being built out.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. It's good stuff. Obviously, we want to see more things built out in relation to the kind of translate back into the token as far as the value goes. So well, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. I've got the column here for DeFi. You got a hell of a DeFi segment here to go through. So we're gonna move on from EOS. Appreciate all the EOS comments. You guys are killing it. We're up to 35. If we hit 57, you guys get the other LADZ rewards. If you're just stopping in, that link is above for you to claim your LADZ rewards for engaging in the content this week. Got a ton of good things coming for LADZ. Make sure to like and subscribe, guys. If it's your first time here, subscribe. If it's not your first time here, please like the video. It helps us out. So we appreciate you guys stopping by and chatting with us this week.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we are ready, we can kick off the DeFi news that I got here. So basically, the first article that we got here is most DEXs are unsafe, alleges new report. So here is some fun for you guys. So recent report from Layer1Live, crypto exchange ranking platform. We always talk about how ranking is done and what the process is done for to determine those rankings. Well, this website has basically indicated that 14 out of 25 decentralized exchanges scored poorly in terms of cybersecurity. And it's interesting that how they rank in terms of from 1 through, let me see, through 10, I believe. Yeah, 10 being the safest, highest score, 1 being the lowest. And a part of the rating has to go into all right, like how many fake tokens are being listed on there, right? The replications of the original token. Then have they completed audit, right? If there was audit set up. If they didn't complete audits, then obviously they're not getting points. If what is the execution, right? Is there a lot of slippage? Is there a lot of liquidity available? All those things that come into play when they determine this security score.
You see what I'm seeing?
Yeah, wow, we getting some money jump from Adriana. That's awesome.
Some cash money. We appreciate the donation. 2 $5 donations coming through. So $5 for each of us, Dima.
Nice.
We can go to the I don't even know what do kids do these days now that COVID's hit, but we appreciate that donation. We obviously are putting that that cash to use by making Layer 1 better in general. We appreciate that so much. It definitely helps as we look to grow this out. So Adriana coming through a lad herself. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate that. We can buy maybe what is that going to be, like 5 years with it?
Wow. All right, I might kick this guy off of here.
All right.
She donated for you to say that about EOS. Come on, Dima.
What do you mean? That's good. All right, so let's keep on with this ratings. Could you pull up that rating article that ranks it from 1 through 25 so you guys can see kind of the standings? Obviously the number 1 is going to be Uniswap. Obviously they have a score of 835. They have the best execution in terms of minimum slippage, the high liquidity. They've completed audits. We can probably debate. They probably lost some points in terms of having fake tokens kind of listed there. It's kind of inevitable to have that. But Uniswap is obviously listed as number 1. Looks like Synthetics is number 2. Curve is number 3. Binance Dex is listed as 5. It's 6.6. So basically, anywhere between 8 and 10 is what's considered to be really good. And below 8 is where it's like areas of concern. But Bancor is listed at 5.45. That's an area of concern for sure. So it's interesting to find out, how this report talks about this report talks about just certain counterparty risks that people don't really see from the surface when they're trading with these DEXs. And part of that is obviously having an audit of smart contracts, right? Or having execution that's trash, right, with a lot of slippage, that's a counterparty risk. And a lot of, they actually mentioned some exchanges, they even lie about the fact that their contract was audited, or they hire people, like contractors to that are not associated with any entity to do an auditing of their smart contract, and basically saying, hey, it's all good, you know. Well, that person really doesn't care, you know, about the image, that they're not an entity, public figure, let's say, right? So they're doing this audit and they're getting paid for it. They're obviously going to be like, you know, it's good, good stuff, you know. But if you have an entity, right, that does it, they have a reputation that if they do put a stamp of approval, right, then if there is an exploit or something that happens, then their brand will be under fire. Be like, what the hell, you guys had it, you know, you guys, there's a team that was dedicated to audit this, and you guys messed this up. So that there's a lot of things that are going on that are kind of you know, shady in terms of dexes, and how you know, how they're actually you know, you should be more cautious than you think when you're picking the dex that you want to trade on. And there's the counterparty risk that people basically need to kind of keep attention on as this, you know, continues to kind of roll out. So
I've seen some of the, like, a rise of scout auditors, and I just made that term up, but like guys who, you know, it takes a little while for the actual audit to get done, especially
right.
if it's at a big firm. I've seen some of these YouTube channels kind of pop up of scout auditors where if they can prove through whether the community believes them or not, if they can go through and audit that token itself, then people will kind of flood in and you know, make the as opposed to getting rugged by something that's completely unaudited, they take the word of these scout auditors almost before even the official audit. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen that, but again, that like goes back to this thing. It's like, well, this scout auditor, it's like, you know, what is his incentive to be correct on audit, right? What is the, you know, it's trusting the entity and the brand and the team behind an audit that has been established in the industry is worth way more than the scout. You know, and it's like, I feel like the scouts are taking advantage of the fact that, like, you know, the audit takes longer, and they just see that little window where they can provide a little bit of value and kind of give their blessings. Uh, but the quality of that, you know, is going to be very diminished. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, it's tough. I think we should still wait for the official audit and not rely on scouts to, you know, make like significant investments, or give us, like, you know, peace of mind that the fact that, like, you know, this thing is good.
I hear you. I hear you. Here we go. We got Thomas Erickson saying, tried a new diet last week, weed edibles. It didn't work out. Tell the truth. My new diet will be LADZ content and good vibes this week. We appreciate you, Thomas. You killing it, man. Indo SP says Indo SP says, hey, and then Loadmaster is in the house. Where is the NFT army at, Loadmaster? Bring him on in here. We might hit it, depending on how, you know, you've done over the past week with the NFT army. We might hit all-time highs. He's saying time zones are I know he's up in Scotland, I believe. So yeah, appreciate all your guys' support. Adrian is saying the laugh alone was worth it. We appreciate the donation once again. Asmodi said, I audited LAD's Discord. It's an audacious good time. Appreciate it. Appreciate
absolutely.
it. All right, so let's get to the rest of this DeFi stuff. We do have to get done with this episode, so we're going to fly through the rest of the news pieces. What do we got, Dima?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you hear the helicopter outside flying. I think they're dropping cash.
Taking an
So
airdrop.
yeah, yeah. All right, so yeah, the rest of the DeFi. Let's hop into the next one. Is Aave admin keys handover. So Aave community is going through that transition where basically getting more decentralized, where Aave governance is getting passed to the community, and all that good stuff.
Stanley's piecing out.
Yeah, we don't say that. You know, Stanley's still the OG. He's still the leader. Obviously, the community, you know, that has grown, you know, is going to have a piece in terms of like decision making for changes on Aave platform. And that's, you know, it's a typical kind of transition that occurs, right? They've transitioned from their LEN token to Aave, which is a government token, and now they're transitioning this to community. Classic type of style of going about it. Aave community is obviously very strong, so, you know, there's, you know, I think it's a very good move for them. And Yeah, overall, I'm excited for Aave. Their LTVs have been really good. They've been holding those numbers. That flash loans have been killing it, even though people might say that they do cause a little trouble there. Especially on the side of um, what happened with the harvest finance, right, with the flash loans there. But in general, Aave has been really successful, and now they're passing along to increase that decentralization and have that governance token utility with admin keys being handed over. So just wanted to cover that really quick. But speaking of harvest finance, it seems like this story is like pretty interesting because you had farm finance was pretty much like kind of begging the guy who took away 24 million to give back to the community the funds, and the guy came back and said, all right, here you go, 2 million back. And then harvest finance put out this bounty like, all right, we got to find this guy to recover the funds, and we're gonna give $100,000 to whoever can do this. And then obviously nobody was interested. And then they were like, okay, you know what? We're going to make it as 1 million. So they 10x their bounty for information leading to a return of 24 million in what happened, in that exploit per se. To be honest, I don't, it's like, it's an efficiency that happened in the platform, and it was exploited by the trader. So I think it's just market forces. It's hard to say, hey, listen, that guy should give everything back, because the thing with trading is that in order for you to profit, you look for market inefficiencies and you capitalize on those, right? If you're looking for alpha, if you're looking to buy for less and sell for more, simply put, right? Then you look for those inefficiencies in the market. This is a way he found inefficiency in the market, and he was rewarded for it, right? Well, so then the question is like, well, why he should give it back? Well, like, imagine you bought the token at the $1, right? You ended up token ended up going to $1,000. Now you're sitting on all this money, and is it fair for you to say, hey, listen, you gotta give that money back, man? Like, and it's like, what, Nick? So it's like it's interesting. Obviously, like, we'll see how that's going to turn out, but they've upped the bounty. I don't think really they're going to be able to recover any more funds from him.
Yeah, we actually have a quote here that says the Harvest Finance team implied it knew the identity of the attacker, who is well known in the crypto community.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah, I wonder why they're not revealing who it is.
Yeah, I think they're still probably trying to work that out. Well, whenever they dox you, Dima, let me know, and then
They will
you can
never find me.
Yeah.
You see that the helicopter, they're patrolling outside to see, to make sure nobody's around.
Very cool, very cool. All right, so we've got some rug pulls, obviously here to get to, but we also have Andre coming out now with a project that didn't rug pull, which is new. I don't mean to be hating on that. I lost a couple ETH from I believe it was LBI. But we got the NFT army in the house as well. Guys, we're touching DeFi. We're going to hit like a couple social token pieces of news as well as NFTs to end the episode. Dima's going to finish up here with Keep3r as well as Opium raising 3.3.
Yeah, so sorry. I totally missed the last kind of sentence that you made, but if we happen into Keep3r talking about Andre, they experienced a 200% surge, which like you mentioned, was not rugged, or at least just yet, even though it did experience volatility because the price of the token pumped to 150 and then it suffered a retracement as well. So there was definitely some action in terms of volatility and price discovery that went from 150 to 300. But overall, so the Keep3r Network, it's like this whole setup with being able to hire people to work on and do certain jobs, that is kind of part of a decentralized network, is from what my understanding is on this Keep3r. It was hard to find out exactly how the token operates within the platform because it has to involve a lot of in terms of like programming and all that stuff. So they make it quite complex in terms of understanding the functionalities behind it. But overall, like I mentioned, like, the reason why it was designed is because for keepers, right, there's basically the ones that are looking to do dev jobs, they can be allocated a contract or whatnot that can be set up. As he mentions, Keep3r Network is a decentralized Keep3r network for projects that need external DevOps and external teams to find Keep3r jobs. So
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the token here and see, because it did have a major volatility. I remember Bruno dropped it into the DeFi section of our community Discord and was asking if anybody was gonna get into this project. I know it's funny because Andre was on like his second strike. He had that. I think it goes on. I think it was Emanate, right? That got exploited for 15 mil, and then he had LBI, which was super sketchy, and it's the one that I kind of lost a little bit of ETH on. But it was kind of like, this is the third one. I can't fuck this up, or else I'm gonna lose major credibility. You can't just continue to. I mean, I guess you can. He built up enough of a reputation from Wi-Fi, but it's nice to see. I hate to like continue to bash on what happened, but Andre's like been a great part of the crypto community. You need people like that
right.
to continue to push development forward. It's just unfortunate kind of what happened with the other two projects, and it's good to see that the third one ended up.
I think it's in generally people need to understand the fact that when let's say Andre comes out with new things, it's not necessarily going to be as successful as everything else that he did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he does a lot of experiments, right? He does a lot of these things where it's like he tries to make something, and then people expect it to have the same reaction as the rest of the products that he created that were successful. Therefore, they're FOMO in, they're buying it without even reading or thinking about how this thing is going to fit the market, and it overshoots on speculation, and then it gets dropped, right? So, like, in that sense, it's like, well, why is this his fault, right? So,
The LBI was sketchy, man. Listen, and Stacy's getting on me. Said, "Are you fudding Dre, dude? Just stop." The LBI was sketchy, man. The it wasn't even a white paper. It was like a light paper, kind of describing what happened, and then it was retroactively introduced into a disclaimer that said like, "Oh, we're not using these funds at all," after people had already aped in, me being one of them. But listen, Andre. I just said Andre is a great part of the community. It's just unfortunate what happened with a couple of the projects. I don't think Emanate was as big a black eye as LBI. LBI was a complete like disaster from that, and it was one that could have been avoided had you just had the disclaimer up front.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we'll move on before Stacy gives me a good one. We did have one question, and I was trying to find the answer to this. What is the utility of Keep3r token, other than is Keep3r the payment that the keepers are receiving for doing the job?
Yeah, I guess that is my understanding of it, but really, the more like it's hidden, the more sketchy it gets, right? It's like, why is this not available, to be understood, like, just upfront? So
So you're fudding Andre too.
the utility of token is the fact that the prices will go up. But yeah.
So guys, if you're in the chat and you know the utility of Keep3r, let us know, because we definitely want to break that down. We had some other EOS comments that it's going to be tough to get back to. I think they were talking about what Blankos means for EOS. I think that's a positive if the assets are on the main chain. I know we didn't get to that comment initially. I'm going to try to find the Keep3r utility while Dima hits on this last fundraising that came from a DeFi protocol.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you mentioned, there's a lot of talk about DeFi being dead. Well, Opium raises 3.3 million to make exotic crypto derivatives available to all. So there's still money that's pouring into DeFi space from capital groups like, for example, Kinetic Capital and Alameda Research, QCP. So all these players that are still actively investing in the DeFi space, even though we are going through a bit of a cooling process, right? The beauty about the Opium platform is that it creates the ability for people to create derivatives, right? So, and one of the products that they have is for you to they've introduced actually last month for you to be able to bet against Tether solvency. So, for example, there's default swaps for Tether available, and I can't believe I'm actually saying that out loud. But yeah, so there are credit default swaps for Tether.
Are you gonna buy some of those?
Yeah,
You're always flooding
I know,
Tether.
I know. I just found out about this today.
Put your money where your mouth is,
That's why
bro.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna definitely research that. But yeah, so basically for you to to kind of bet on the fact that if Tether hits that insolvency, then you have credit default swaps, which is good because, for example, it is providing a hedging tool, right? For those people that are sitting on mad Tether, like maybe even exchanges that sit on a lot of Tether, and let's say there's some crazy stuff happens with Tether, well, they don't want to be exposed, right? So they might have some allocation towards credit default swaps for Tether just in case to hedge out some of that risk, because we know that Tether overall holds quite a bit of that counterparty risk in terms of how they perceived from the regulatory standpoint and all that stuff. We have a lot of stable dollars that are coming out from regulated regions. And Tether is still around. It's still the biggest, right? And we see a lot of regulators are starting to kind of close in on exchanges, slowly, peeling off certain players that are big and rattling them. So if Tether is not going to be an exception, then Opium can offer, basically a product for you to hedge some of that risk through the credit default swap. So that's something that was very interesting. Found out about it today. There's obviously other things that you can do in terms of creating derivatives on their platform. More of that is going to give more flexibility within the market, and the ability for people to hedge some of the risk and not be just one-sided.
I can't stop thinking about the God damn it, what is it called? The Big Short, where you're the guy. You're gonna buy a lot of credit default swaps or Tether. You're gonna be like, no, just wait, and it keeps going up and it doesn't get settled and all that shit, and then you're just trying to convince people that it's gonna happen.
I was talking. You remember I was talking about credit default swaps when DeFi was blowing up, and I was like, when credit default swaps, I can probably find a tweet that I did, and boom, there it is.
So let's touch on Keep3r real quick. That was a good summary from the Opium raise there. So we had a couple people come through. I know Bruno came through as well as P-Knuckle. It looks like other than the general governance token that is kind of just like thrown out there as a utility for some tokens that just don't have a utility whatsoever, it looks like you can bond KP3R to perform high-risk jobs, use KP3R to manage governance. KP3R's accrues direct payment fees. Liquidity providers can pay keepers with KP3R credit. We're still trying to figure this out live on air. So I think, we'll see where it goes. Obviously, you bond it as collateral, but I'm also seeing here that you don't need KP3R to actually start the bonding or start the process of becoming a keeper.
Right. Yeah. It's like, that's why I was looking into it, and I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So why is this information not readily available?
What information? He laid it out on the paper, man. Come on. All right. Anyways, we're kind of running up into a rabbit hole here. So we'll touch on that maybe next episode. We'll do our research on Keep3r, and obviously we'll have that discussion in-house in the LADZ community Discord. Other than that, it looks like we are at 40. So again, hi to the LADZ or NFT Army. Thanks for coming in here today. So good to see you guys. 25 people, 25 have claimed their LADZ for today. If you need to claim your LADZ, if you haven't done that yet, it's up there in the. You got to scroll up and find the link so that you guys can claim your rewards for engaging with us today. If we hit all-time highs, 57. I will drop another link so that you guys can get your LADZ rewards 2x. And we got some other comments coming in. Did you want to hit that or no?
Yeah, Danny Dan says Keep3r is a keeper. Crypto Stacy saying Keep3r is based and you're lagging. Loadmaster, it looks like he have a day to go, so we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Awesome. It looks like Scott's also saying he's got to dip out. Thanks for the show, gents. Talk to y'all soon. Thanks again, Scott. You're really helping to make LADZ one of the better communities in crypto. We appreciate you guys showing up today and discussing with us. All right, let's hit the rest of the topics here. I'm going to move the old column over, and we're going to touch on social tokens. Not much from social tokens, although it's growing. It's just a lot to keep up with here over the past week. It looks like Audius is moving some of their transactions and their data over to Solana. So obviously Solana is in that category of scalable protocol chains or scalable. I guess that was a double entendre. We have decentralized music. Audius announced Thursday it will migrate its content management system over to Solana. It looks like not all of this has been laid out to the community. It was talking about later in this article, kind of it not being laid out specifically, but we do have a comment from Solana here. Given our need to utilize a high-performance blockchain today, Solana's growing set of 182 validators, combined with the battle-tested architecture, gives our community the confidence that Audius's catalog can scale at ease, a crucial component. But it just looks like the actual details of the partnership haven't been laid out yet. It looks like it's going to be laid out in the future, but it's a big net and a big win for Solana in general if you can kind of attract a platform as big as Audius. I think they're doing good stuff with Audius. I did get a little bit screwed by that Audius price. I bought around 35 cents, so anybody who wants to buy into that Audius at 10 cents might be not investment advice, but it might be good value there. So yeah, Audius is doing good things, man. I'm excited, and we're gonna continuously talk with Cooper over that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, after we spoke to Cooper about it, and I've learned more about Audius, so, it definitely took headlines, and it's doing a lot of good things. So congrats on success thus far.
It looks like people can't scroll that far, so I'm going to drop the link again for the LADZ rewards. We have the last bit of news from social. I did a little bit of research here. It looks like this Thanks token was started by, I'm going to get his name here, but it looks like it's just another social token launch. But this guy actually came from a house, kind of an influencer house that Alex Masmej is in right now. So I'm going to try to find this guy's name real quick. Brett Goldstein. He's in the launch house, which I kind of in passing saw that Alex Masmej had been a part of. It looks like that launch house is just a kind of conglomerate of influencers, and they kind of just like threw it together and kind of like these hype houses you see with TikTok and things like that. But it looks like he's just starting this process here of launching a Thanks token. I don't know how much meat there is to this project, but basically saying Thanks is a new kind of money that you can get when you're nice. So there's a couple different, if you go into the description, you can see links for this project, but there's a couple different things you can do to earn Thanks. Obviously the social token space is it's so new and nascent that it's just being built out, but it's good to see other people kind of launching tokens. I mean, he's got himself a nice front end here. And you guys, if you're interested in kind of social tokens in general, this is another one that's being launched over the next, or over the past couple days. So hopefully we can talk with my man Garrett here, or Brett here, and then we'll see what we can do going forward. So
yeah, that's an interesting idea. Like, it's just like, even if the token, just has no value, right? It hasn't, it's not traded anywhere, right? It's just like sending thanks to somebody, but it's on a blockchain, right? So it's like just the concept of itself is interesting.
Yeah, we've seen some of that from airdrops, right? There was like the FU token where you would send them the FU token.
Exactly.
All right, I'm gonna fly through some of this NFT stuff, guys. We've had a long episode here. We're almost at 2 hours, so I'm gonna fly through this. It looks like Atari token is trading. I'm gonna pull that up. It's only on Bitcoin.com exchange. I'll find that. But obviously Atari, if you've been following all the stuff that we've been doing on Layer 1, we've been following the NFT space. We have NFT Live. The artist series just started. We're absolutely killing it with NFT content. And Atari is moving into the NFT space. They have that huge partnership with Sandbox, where they have a bunch of estates. They launched this token. They partnered with Wax. So they're doing a whole bunch of different things with NFTs specifically. And it looks like they just got launched on Bitcoin.com exchange. I'm not familiar with that exchange. It looks like there's 250,000 worth of volume. So it's not, and the spread is, obviously it's not going to cover that much with the depth that we're seeing there with $93 and $43. So it'll be interesting to see this token get picked up. But the Atari chain has launched. Their token is live. So it'll be interesting to follow Atari going forward. They're doing this pivot towards blockchain and towards NFT specifically. And it'll be interesting to follow this project. There's not much I can talk about them because officially they haven't really, I feel like, done much. They got some NFTs coming, collectibles to Wax, I believe, in the coming, I think, week. I need some of the NFT guys to break that out for me. Any of you guys in the chat that know about the NFT collectibles on Wax of these Atari versions, let me know.
Yeah, it's interesting. As I was looking at Atari just being traded on that exchange, and the interesting part here is that 60% of their volume that's traded is actually against Bitcoin Cash. It's like so strange. $577,000 in trading volume, Atari against BCH. Yeah, which is, I'm not sure why that is happening. But, obviously second place is going to be Bitcoin, Atari versus BTC.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like Atari USD is not really, cranking up. It's like 99,000 in terms of trading volume. So it's always interesting to see, obviously new ones roll out and kind of, what's going on in terms of volume and where the most of the volume is being traded.
Where is the most volume being traded on BCH itself? Is that like heavily on that Bitcoin.com exchange? That might. I think
it's all in one exchange. Yeah, this is all from one exchange.
Well, I'm saying Bitcoin Cash itself, not related to Atari. How much of the volume of BCH gets traded on Bitcoin.com exchange? That might be why. Because I think Bitcoin.com, if I'm not mistaken, is a BCH website. Oh
yeah, that's right. You're right.
That's guys. We cracked the case here. All right,
mystery solved.
Yeah, mystery solved. All right, I'm gonna get through the rest of this NFT news, and then we will bid you adieu. We've got the Fuocious Nifty Gateway launch on this Thursday, 7 p.m. We launched the NFT Artist Series or Spotlight Series there on NFT Live. Ronan and Buff actually were a part of that interview last night, so go and check that out. NFT Live has its own dedicated YouTube channel if you want to check that out. Obviously, we run the NFT Live weekly show on the Layer 1 channel that you're currently on, but NFT Live also has its own YouTube channel, and they interviewed Fuocious last night. That was an awesome interview. Fuocious is absolutely killing it. This sale is going to last like 0.5 seconds. Nifty Gateway is selling out like in seconds. I think one of them was 7 seconds, anything like that. This won't even, it'll be a click of a button and it'll be over. But Fuocious is doing that. Check out NFT Live, guys, if you want to see what's going on with that. This comes from Loadmaster, I believe, and shout out to Loadmaster. He could definitely be a alpha of the week every week. It looks like RFox, the team behind Cogs, is also launching a liquidity mining reward pool that includes NFTs, that is Cogs. So it looks like they have the rules laid out here, but an estimated $5,000 in rare Wax NFTs will be drawn on live stream in December. Any wallet with above 650 in combined RFox ETH liquidity in the pool from a certain period, so 15th to December 5th, is going to be getting at least eligible for these rewards. So definitely cool to see from our Fox team. And then we have something that is, I would say, tied into what we're doing here at Layer 1. We have Andrew Steinwald, who's a huge NFT influencer, researcher, intelligence kind of guy, as well as Axie Infinity. These are two members who are going to be on the Layer 1 channel this week. So we have both Andrew and Jiho from Axie on the channel this week. You will see that on Wednesday with Andrew, and then on Friday with Axie. We'll drop both of those episodes. But Andrew basically, like he does, is breaking out some NFT statistics here that are really good, specifically towards Axie as we get ready to see AXS drop. So I've got some here. A summary of basically these stats are wallet growth over the past, I believe, from 2019 to October 2020. So about 10 months, 11 if we're getting really stickler with it. We've got 210% wallet growth. Average price per NFT Axie, 15,000% increase. Volume, 7-day growth, 38,000. Twitter follow growth, 100%, and Discord, 111%.
Wow.
It's getting to the point where Axie is becoming, in stats and data have always been kind of debated in blockchain. I think we've seen Justin Sun, the master manipulator of data and stats on the blockchain. We have to make sure, I need to see the data myself, and we need to see reputable sources backing this up. But if all of that is true, Axie is slowly becoming, an actual, like one of the first dApps, kind of like how we were talking with CryptoKitties back in 2017, first mass adopted dApp, out there, especially within Ethereum. They're just becoming that. It's crazy.
Unless they're going to have 8 billion users, then, like Tron, then, where's going to be the mass adoption?
True. Next to Justin, everyone is pale in comparison.
Yeah, they already, got aliens as part of their user base. But yeah, it's going to be super exciting. Obviously, like you mentioned, we're going to have them on our channel. We're going to interview them. So if you guys got any interesting questions, feel free to drop that. We can include that when we talk to them.
Yep, and there's a couple average prices of NFTs here. The volume is absolutely insane from the beginning of, it looks like December 1st, 2000. Although I guess he said the data is fuzzy here because they started accounting for Axie Marketplace. But from December 1st of 2019, 2,900 in 7-day volume to 1,000,001 in the past 7 days in October. So huge growth from Axie. Can't wait to have Jiho as well as Andrew on the podcast this week. That's going to do it for the most part. I know we have a couple comments that we can get to. Let's touch on those. The one I did want to get to was Thomas was saying the Rogan and Alex Jones and Tim Dillon, best podcast 2020. Couldn't agree more. That was an amazing podcast. Usually Alex Jones is an absolute nut, and like Rogan really reeled him in, and it's an amazing podcast. It's going to be the best for 2020, hands down. So
yeah, I gotta give that a listen. It seems like there's a lot of good reviews about it.
I couldn't stress more that you need to listen to this podcast. Anyways, looks like, yeah. Well, I mean, we have a ton of comments. It looks like Buff's in the house, Eric's in the house, Pinochle is giving us the rocket ship there, guys. We hit, I believe, 36 today, 36, 37. We needed to hit that all-time high of 57 to drop the link. But we appreciate you guys stopping by today. Obviously, it was a great episode per usual. We almost hit, I believe we just hit 2 hours. So we appreciate you guys stopping by.
Yeah, absolutely. A huge shout out to NFT Army, guys. Thanks for rating us as well. And of course, like we mentioned, tomorrow it's going to be a big day in general. But tomorrow we will have Dimitri's Desk on our channel. So hosted by yours truly. We'll talk about price action. We should have no shortage of volatility tomorrow. I'm so excited. If nothing's going to happen in the markets, I'm going to be very upset, But
yeah,
I have big expectations. Tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be talking all markets, trading, and all that good stuff. So feel free to join me. I'll be happy to have you on.
Awesome. And guys, also that's coming this week from a blog post perspective that you guys need to be kind of looking on the out or just looking for from us is going to be that LADZ grant, that first LADZ grant that we're going to give out. It's going to be worth 5,000 LADZ, and we're going to be announcing that after this episode. So sometime in the next 2 hours, we'll be dropping that. Obviously, we're looking to build out LADZ anybody who wants to get involved with helping the growth of this ecosystem. As you know, you accumulate more LADs, it benefits everybody here, and we're trying to grow this community with our utility token. So can't wait to grow this with you guys. You guys have been amazing. It's just where do we go from here? How do we continue to grow? LADS grant being one of those usage of the token that we can do. So can't wait to get that announcement out to you, as well as the liquidity mining program. I'll drop this one last time. So Dima, you're going to have to carry us a little bit longer until I believe I can drop this in the chat for us, so that you guys, if you're interested in liquidity mining, that we can get you that information.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of love in chat. Looks like a lot of hearts. Everybody's hyped about the week and giving feedback about the show. So that's very helpful, guys. Thanks a lot for positive feedback. You guys really, kind of the reason why we do this, and you guys fuel the motivation why we, come to you every Monday with all these news and, discuss it all together. So.
Yeah, I mean, the flywheel effect of what we're doing with LADS is really going to make itself known over the next couple of weeks. I cannot imagine, especially if the markets stay where they are, and we've talked about this internally. It's like, unless we have some crazy sell-off due to kind of a risk-off environment, people are going to know about LADS. And if we even zoom out to a long-term timeline, that short-term doesn't even matter. Man. Can't wait to grow this with you guys. Basically, I dropped that link, that LADS Farmer application. If you're interested in the mining program, we will be reaching out to you this week to talk about that. We'll get you guys in a group together. There will be extra utility and rewards for those people that want to get involved. So fill out that application. We'll be reaching out to you this week. Otherwise, Dima, you want to let us go?
Yeah, absolutely. Till next time, guys.